Welcome to Simbach Designs. Mike Worley here. This is the first installment of a series of guides to Contact Form 7, a popular WordPress plugin for creating web forms. The plugin is lightweight and flexible. You will welcome the fact that you don't need to be a programmer to style stunning forms. Likewise, you don't need buggy plugins. All you need to do is copy and paste code snippets and make simple edits to customize it for your form. I will show you how to change the background of a form and add transparency, set margins and padding, change the background color and transparency of input fields and more. We will create responsive, multi-column layouts that change with the type of device being used to view the form. The results can be breathtaking. This first installment will deal only with styling the actual form itself. A later guide and video on styling the form-generated emails will follow. Let's get started. First, I will show you how to install Contact Form 7, add a form to a page, and show you how the form looks right out of the box. Go to your WordPress dashboard and select Plugins, Add New. In the upper right, search for the plugin. Enter Contact Form 7, and it comes up. Look at the number of installs. Millions. I told you this was a popular plugin. Anyway, click Install. Then click Activate. Once activated, a new tab named Contact appears in the dashboard menu. Click it. Then click Contact Forms, and you are sent to the depository of the forms. Right now, only one form is there, Contact Form 1. Click Edit. The form user interface appears. Up at the top are 4 tabs: Form, Mail, Messages, and Additional Settings. Under Form is the markup for the form. Here's where our fields go, along with all the custom HTML to create our form. Under Mail is the markup for the email notifications generated when the form is submitted. We will explore the subject in the next video on Contact Form 7. Then, there is the Message tab. Here's where you can customize your validation messages. Finally, there is the Additional Settings. This is only used rarely. Contact Form 7 has a limited number of code snippets that, when inserted here, add functionality. Let's move on. Towards the top of the user interface in a band containing the short code for this form. Copy it and go to the home page. Open the home page for editing. Paste the short code into the page. Save your work. View the page. This is what a Contact Form 7 form looks like straight out of the box. Not very inspiring, is it? Now let's look at a fully styled form. This is the form we are going to create today. Note the translucent form background and border. Note the field sets that are separated with a nice double-lined border with legend. Note the multi-column layout. Then, there is the text instructions within the layout and the custom submit button. I will now show you how to create and style this form from scratch. It's easy. I almost forgot. Look at this form in mobile view. Right-click and select Inspect. The form is fully responsive. The fields are stacked one on top of the other just like we want. Moving on. First, we will remove all the styling from the form. I do it by going to my theme options and selecting Custom CSS. It varies from theme to theme, but the basic location is in Customize, Additional CSS. I will select the CSS I want to remove and delete it. Save my work and return to the form page. Well, that's a mess. What did you expect? Now, we will create a new form line by line and add the necessary CSS, snippet by snippet until we have demonstrated all of our styling techniques. All this code may be found in a guide available on my website. A link to this document is in the description below. You will need it when you style your own forms. Start by creating a new form. Under the Contact tab, click Add New Form. The user interface for the new form opens up. Name the form styled and save it. We will now add the CSS and HTML necessary for our multi-column layout. We obtain this at a website called responsive.multi-column. Thank you again, Graham Miller. Go to his website and select Generate Code. At Start here, select 2 columns and then Calculate. Don't worry about margin percentage. The default is good. Scroll down to the code. First, select the HTML. Copy it to your clipboard. Then, paste into a document to keep it handy. I use Notepad. Next, select and copy both blocks of CSS and paste it below the HTML you are saving. Now, go back up to Start here and generate code for a 3-column layout. Back down to the code. Select, copy and paste the HTML just below the 2-column HTML. Now the CSS. You don't have to copy the top box. That's the one that starts with sections. It never changes, no matter how many columns you do. Only copy and paste the lower box that starts with grid of 3. We will now add the CSS to our WordPress installation. Before we do, I will mention that Mr. Miller's website will allow you to obtain code for up to 12 column rows. All responsive. Now, in the file where you just saved all the code, copy all the CSS. Go to the location of all your additional CSS. It is custom CSS for me. Paste the code. Save it. Then, go to your new form named Styled. You should be on the Form tab of the user interface. Look at the markup. There are 5 fields. 4 input fields with labels and 1 submit button. Note the row of buttons above. Starting with text, email, URL. There is a whole array of field types that may be configured in a widget and inserted to the layout. Watch while I add a field for first name to the layout and finish the first 3 rows. I will show you what I mean. Go to the top of the markup where it says Label, your name. Insert your cursor and hit enter a couple of times to give us some space to work. Go back to the file where we saved the code. You will remember that our original form started with 2 3-column rows. Therefore, copy the HTML for a 3-column row. Paste it in the top of your form. Paste it again. Remember, we need 2 3-column rows. Now, go back and copy the 2-column HTML. Paste it below the first 2 rows in your form. See where it says this is column 1, this is column 2 and this is column 3. That is where we will add our fields and related content. Let's start editing HTML. It's easy. Copy the first default field content. Replace the first this is column 1 with the text on your clipboard. Edit the label that says your name. Replace it with first name. Delete the field and go up to the field type menu. I will now demonstrate how to add fields. Make sure your cursor is where you want to insert the field. Select the text button and a field generation window appears. Check requires field because we always need their name. Name the field name. Note that you have several other options like default value and placeholder text. We are not going to use these. Just click Insert Tag and your field is added where it belongs. That is how you add fields. I am not going to bore you with adding each and every field. Let's go back to my trusty file, where I have the appropriate markup completed in advance. I copy and paste it into the form, and I will show you the result. Save your work. Copy the form shortcode from the band above. Go to the test page and open it for editing. Replace the shortcode. Publish the page. View it. It worked. We have the beginning of our new form. Let's check and see if it is responsive. It is. That's good. We go back to the form and continue the editing. Now, let's add some decoration. Field sets and legends. Open the styled form and go up to the very top of the markup where we add a field set tag. I have it in my all-knowing file. I copy and paste it into the top of the form. Next I copy that tag and go down to just below the first two rows and paste the field set tag. Add a / just inside the opening angle bracket to close the tag. Now, back up to the opening field set tag and just below it insert a legend tag. Type a left angle bracket followed by a right angle bracket. Then type personal information and close the tag with two angle brackets with a / in the middle. I have it in my file. That should do it. Save your work, and we will look at it. Back to the test page. Again, it worked. But you can barely see the border for the field set, and there is a lot of styling yet to be done. Nonetheless, we are making progress. I have shown you how to create multi-column layouts with CSS and HTML. I have also shown you how to add field sets and legends. You now have the basics, so I will jump ahead and complete the form markup. When I come back, I will show you everything I did and explain it. Then, I will demonstrate each of my styling techniques with the view of reproducing the form I showed you at the beginning. We'll be back soon. Welcome back. I built out the form, and you can see the results. At this point, I will introduce you to my styling guide for Contact Form 7. You will find it a valuable tool for styling Contact Form 7. Let me explain. You don't need to be a programmer, I'm not. Likewise, you don't need buggy plugins. All you need to do is copy and paste code snippets and make simple edits to customize it for your form. The results can be breathtaking. This first installment, the guide and the video, will deal only with styling the actual form itself. A later guide and video on styling the form-generated emails will follow. Hang on to this guide so you have the code and its corresponding explanations when you go to build your own forms in Contact Form 7. It is set up so you can copy and paste the code where appropriate and edit it as you need to. A note, people often ask, where does the code go? That's easy. The HTML goes in the individual form layouts in Contact Form 7. The CSS goes into the additional CSS under the Customize tab of your WordPress dashboard. It may also go in a child theme if you are using one. Now, please let me explain the changes I made while I was gone. First, note the centered image at the top of the form. Let me show you how we did that. Look at the guide. We scroll down to Add Image. If you want to add an image like your logo to the form, use this HTML and CSS. You may also add alternate text if you like. Look at the HTML to the right. It assigns a CSS class, align center, and a search image HTML function, where you insert your image URL. Where do you get the URL? Let me show you. Let's go to the media library. Normally you would upload an image here and copy the URL to your clipboard. Go back to the image HTML and insert your image URL where it belongs. Watch me. Look at the form markup. It already has the image URL. Now, let's not forget the CSS. It won't work without that. Go to your additional CSS. There it is, the Align Center CSS. That's all you need to do. Next, I am sure you noticed a custom Submit button. Look at the form markup and see the code we used. Now look at the guide under Add an Image Submit button. The default Submit button in Contact Form 7 is simple. Sometimes you want something more exciting. The HTML to the right allows you to use any image as a submit button. This code replaces the default submit field. Note that the border 0 pixel removes that nasty border that an image has in some browsers. To add a custom submit button, all you have to do is insert the URL in the appropriate place. Moving on. We'll scroll back up to the beginning of the guide and demonstrate each of the styling techniques. One caution, when adding custom CSS, I found I had to add it before the layout CSS. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a glitch with my theme. Anyway, first in my guide is change background color of whole form. This CSS allows you to substitute your hex code after the hash mark or delete the hash mark and add a CSS color name. Right now, the color is set for a gray. Let's insert this in my custom CSS. Save it and look at the results. It is, indeed, a gray background for the whole form. That's not what we want. Back to the guide. Under Detailed Treatment of Whole Form, here's CSS that allows you to set a background transparency, a border with transparency also, rounded corners, padding and margins. You will notice the 8-digit hex code. It is the same color as the background color we just did. But this one has an 85 at the end. This is called the alpha channel. 85 would be 85% opacity. A 3-pixel solid border is defined. Its RGBA color is defined, again, you have an alpha channel. It is set at 0.50 or 50%. Note how it defines rounded corners and padding. Let's copy it and paste it into our CSS. Then we look at the results. Nice. Is it not? Next, we go to change the margins of the whole form. This CSS sets all the margins. Change one or more margins as you desire. Let's paste it into the CSS and change the right margin to 210 pixels. Save it. Now look at the results. That right margin is huge. That is how it works. Let's change it back and move on. We now consider change field background color. This CSS changes the field background color for text fields, email fields and text areas. Here, the background color within the fields is set for white and the text within the field will be dark gray. To change either, just add the appropriate hex code or CSS color name. It is possible to apply this to additional field types. For a drop-down menu, add this line, input type select, WPCF7 form control. Let's copy and paste it into the CSS. Change the background color to aqua. Save and review the result. The fields are now a nice aqua color. Back to the guide. Here's a variation. Change field background color on focus. This is the same code snippet as above but with the focus property added. The color of the field background and text changes according to the colors you set when the cursor is within a field and you are typing. As before, you may easily add field types that this applies to. We copy this code and insert it in the CSS. Change background color to light blue. Look at the result. Put your cursor in a field and watch what happens. Cool, is it not? Moving on, look at the next item in the guide. Input and text area border styling. This CSS sets the border color, size and transparency for input fields and text areas. The borders are gray with 86% opacity. It's a nice subtle effect for the borders of fields. It sets up a 1-pixel gray border with transparency. Let's add it to our CSS and see the results. I told you it was nice. Back to the guide. Next, we will do field sets, border, legend HTML. This HTML allows you to put a border and title around groups of fields. You add this code to your actual form within Contact Form 7. It is best that you already have the form layout finished, then add the field sets and legend. At the start of a field group, add the opening field set tag, and at the end of a field group, add the closing tag. To add the title, use the legend tags as shown to the right. I will show you how I did it in the test form markup. Now, let's style that border. That's next in the guide. Field sets, border, legend, CSS. This CSS styles the border for a field set. The border is a 3-pixel, double line, with rounded corners, padding and margin. The color is a nice orange, to match the Symbol logo. We now add it to our CSS and look at the results. Impressive. Play with the values to get exactly what you want. Now, consider styling single forms. The CSS to the right is the same as above but applies only to a single form named F266P16602. This is the form ID and can be obtained by inspecting the form in your browser. I will now show you how to get the form ID so you can do this. Go to your form. In the middle of the form, right-click and select Inspect. Inspect again, if necessary. In the HTML, look for form action. It will be followed by the page name and the form ID. Double-click and that should select it. Copy it and paste it just before the word field set. Remove the page name. This line should now start with a hash mark. Consider the hash mark at the start instead of a dot. This is because it applies to only a single instance of the attribute. A dot would apply to all instances. Let's paste this in the CSS and check what happens. It applies to the form we are on. Let's look at another. Yes, the border is not styled. It worked. Finally, let's look at text area size. The default size of text areas is just too big. The CSS to the right allows you to change that. You may set the width in percent or pixels. The height in pixels. It is currently set at 100% width and height at 80 pixels. Let's copy and paste it into the CSS and see what happens. The text area is smaller. That's what we want. I hope you have noticed that you can make big changes to your form just by applying CSS. Well, that's the end of our session. I hope you have enjoyed our time together. Likewise, I hope you have found this video and the accompanying guide useful. If you did, please consider subscribing below. I can't tell you how much it means that you subscribe. If I am to be eligible for YouTube monetization, I need to have 1,000 subscribers. We need your support to continue. Please subscribe now and see all the great tutorials we have today and will have in the future. Thanks bunches and good day.